Hello and welcome to another episode of MackLaw, our video on Riaan van Wyk, a jurist and a legal enthusiast. Hi Riaan.
Hi Michael, thanks for having me. Today we'll be discussing land claims, who's entitled to it, why they're entitled to it, and what the cut-off time is for such claims to actually be lodged. Where do you lodge it? Who may lodge it? All of these details we'll be discussing in today's show.
Obviously, land claims mean that people whose property has been taken away from them, they can claim it back. Can you give us more light into how far this goes back?
Absolutely, that's exactly what it means, first of all. Before we go into the history of it, let's just first of all establish our legal basis, as we always do on MackLaw. We start with the Constitution, which is our ground basis for all of our laws in South Africa. Our Constitution, in Section 25, our fundamental right to property, specifically subsection 7, holds that people who have been dispossessed of property on account of past racially discriminatory laws or practices are entitled to get their land back. Right? The specific subsection also speaks of a specific date. It says such people who were dispossessed on or after June 9th, 1913 are entitled to actually claim back land if they can provide proof that they are descendants from people or communities who have been dispossessed by such racially discriminatory laws or practices. Right? So now we might ask ourselves, why specifically June 9th, 1913? This is because in 1913, specifically on that date, June the 9th, government of the day has enacted an Act of Parliament called the Native Land Act. And on the basis of this act, it has taken 85% of our beautiful country's prime property and made it available to the white minority only. And therefore they have dispossessed about 3.5 million people of their prime property homes. Property which they've been calling their homes for generations, And just because the white colonialist that has now come here, taken over our country and taken the best prime property, send a horse in, and as far as that horse can run, sir, that's your property, you go and take it there, Mr. Groenewald or whatever from the Dutch Huguenot settlers or whatever the case might be, that was your land. And then whatever native person of South Africa who was part of that category of racially dispossessed people were then shunted off to barren pans and barren lands to actually go and fend for themselves, where land wasn't actually fruitful, So the Constitution then provides for restoration in this regard. And the Constitution also, very, very importantly, provides in Section 25, subsection 9, that the Parliament they have to enact legislation to give effects to such restoration, to prescribe how such restoration will actually take place. And this has been culminated in what is called the Restoration of Land Rights Act 22 of 1994. Now, what is very important here is that back in 1994, when this act came into being, the act specifically said that people of this category of persons or communities of persons had only a 4-year window in which they had to actually lodge such claims, saying, hey, listen guys, I've been previously dispossessed. Back in 1913, my descendants and the descendants of my descendants have owned this land, whether it be in Warme Estate in Cape Town or beautiful Waterberge up north. You then have an opportunity to lay a claim with the Commissioner of Land Claims or the chairperson thereof and prove your case that you are actually a descendant of a community that has been dispossessed in that regard.
Okay, so Riaan, so basically what you're trying to tell me, from 1913, if they had property that was taken away from them unlawfully, they can claim it now. Because obviously my grandma was 92 years old. She was born after 1913. If any of her descendants' properties that were taken away from her, she can claim it right now.
I think if my math serves me correct there, Michael, 92 you said?
Yeah.
Then she must have been born 1934. That'll be exactly, 21 years after the enactment of the Native Land Act.
Yes.
So definitely she would then fall within the category of persons if she could prove that at the time of the promulgation of the Native Land Act, or even any time thereafter, her family was dispossessed of prime property, or any property for that matter.
Now, will you tell us how she will go about actually putting that claim in?
This is the very essence of today's show, is that many people think that because of the promulgation of the 1994 Act, which I've just mentioned, that the 4-year window is now closed. 1998 has come and gone. Today is 2016. However, in 2014, Jacob Zuma, our president of the country today, he actually, by proclamation in the Government Gazette, has put into force a piece of legislation called the Restoration of Land Rights Amendment Act, which then reopened the land claims window from the 1998 deadline to say that, listen, from 2014, we're going to give people another 5 years, because 3.5 million people have been dispossessed in 1913. And not a lot of people have come forward. Still, a lot of people are still angry. I mean, back in 1994, such a lot of things were happening. Our constitution got involved. The interim constitution just got there. The multi-party organizations were busy negotiating about how to take the interim constitution into a final constitution. Our country was going through a massive metamorphosis. And at that time, people were too busy, you know, concentrating on the constitution as opposed to actually lodging these claims. So Zuma and the minister involved said, listen, no, we're going to reopen this window and give people a chance to 2019. Now, this being our last show for 2016 makes next year 2017. Giving people only two more years.
Yeah. Only 2 years.
So the importance of this show is to tell people, listen guys, if you've got descendants of people who have been shoved off from District 6 in Cape Town, wherever the case might be, you've got 2 years left. The cutoff date is 2 years left. 2019 is coming.
Yeah.
Right?
And this is a very important topic. I never knew that, Riaan. And you get the people today that are complaining that this land is ours, without actually going to check if they own any land from their descendants.
Correct.
And now they got an opportunity. This show is very important. You got to take note, people.
Yeah, so what you just said is absolutely correct. Now, the situation is that this specific legislation, the Amendment Act, with its original enabling statute, the 1994 Act, actually prescribes how these category of persons or communities can actually go about lodging these claims. So firstly, it establishes who must apply. It establishes how to apply. It establishes where to apply to, you know, and it also establishes that if the Land Claims Commission actually finds that, listen, here's some definite big legal issues to deal with, then the Act also allows for referral to a specialized enabled court called the Land Claims Court, where the Commission will refer to the court and the court will actually deal with these legal issues through the adversarial battle of counsel of property owners, current property owners, and then also dispossessed owners of past racial discriminatory laws.
Riaan, I think I'm going to go do my research.
You better!
Well,
who knows, you might have a place in Seaboard.
Exactly. Riaan, thank you for coming on studio for this topic. Is there anything else you want to tell our viewers with this very interesting topic?
Yes, look, stay true to yourself, find out what your heritage is, because there are a lot of advantages, and it is important for us to establish who we are so that we can take back our land that was been dispossessed from before in the past, and this will establish the real reformation, the real restoration that is actually envisioned by the Constitution, by our law, and by our new constitutional democracy. And that is, it starts with an introspection of who we actually are.
Thank you, Riaan. And from my side, go do your research. If you got any family, great-grandfather, great-brother or whatever, if he has been put off his land and you know that, you got a claim in there. Thank you for joining us on another episode of MackLaw, where we tackle legal issues in South Africa where you can help yourself.